Welcome back. Let's talk about Seattle, Washington, because there's 737,000 people that live there, and it can be important to them, and it can be important to you as well. So thank you for joining me, and let's jump in. If you're new to my channel, I like to cover the areas outside of Seattle, Washington, but we're going to take a quick shout out to another fellow podcaster out there, Podcastage. I wanted to say this specifically because I've been getting feedback that my audio is only coming in one of the speakers on people's headsets. So I've done some research, and this podcaster, he had the solution. So I just wanted to, push him out there for a moment. He has a lot more subscribers than I do, so he's probably not going to get a bump or anything from this. But I just want to say thank you to Podcastage over here for solving this problem. So let's jump into Seattle, Washington. So Seattle, Washington is obviously located inside of the Washington North Puget Sound area. The Puget Sound area is located right here if you're watching my cursor. And Seattle is wedged between the Puget Sound and also Lake Washington. Like I said, it's in the North Puget Sound because the entire area between the peninsula and the mainland side of Washington is considered the Puget Sound, and it connects all the way to the Pacific Ocean through the San Juans, and it borders with Canada. This is a major shipping area if you didn't know, if you're new to the area, but there's a lot of ports inside of Seattle. And this is just one of the big thoroughways for all of our container ships and also the cruise ships, which you actually might hear because they're currently right here in port, and they're about a mile away from me. I'm up in the North Queen Anne area right about here, and the cruise ships are right down here in the Belltown area, just so you have an idea. But now that we kind of covered that, I want to get into the demographics inside of Seattle and what we're dealing with here. Because, like I said, there's 737,000 people that live here, and our employment rate is right about 71%. The median household income is 115,000, and again, this is medium. This is not average. So if you add up everyone's income and you line it up left to right from highest to lowest, the exact middle is considered the median. So the median is 115,000. Education level is just over 2/3 of the people inside of Seattle have a bachelor's degrees or higher, and there's about 368,000 household units, which brings our average to just about 2 persons per household. Now that we have a quick breakdown of the actual numbers, I want to get into what the housing looks like inside of Seattle, Washington. Because if you came to me right now and you said, "Hey, Victor, I am thinking about moving to Seattle," or "I have a friend who's looking to buy a house or sell a house inside Seattle," I say, "Hey, I got you, boo. I do this stuff all the time. I want to go over some things for you and give you a breakdown of the numbers." So available for purchase right now inside Seattle, there's quite a bit in here. Let me get down to it. It took me about 3 hours to do this document today. I think it's about 7,500 lines on here, but you guys might not care about that. But there's 17,088 homes available for purchase right now inside of Seattle, Washington. They're all the way from a $60,000 condominium up to $40 million. The average price of the available houses on the market right now are $1,154,000, and the average days on market is 58 days on market. Now, this might not mean anything to you, but I'm going to compare it for the last 5 years, and I already did all that math, like I said, because I spent the last 3 hours, maybe 4 hours doing all the math for you. And like I said, there is 7,094 lines inside this document. So if you want to look at it, you can hit me up. My contact information is at the bottom of the page. I'll be happy to share my research with you. These numbers are directly from our Northwest MLS, and that's the multiple listing service. Because I'm a real estate agent, you haven't hired me, but I am available for hire. So when I compare the average and I boil down all these numbers, I had to get an exact average. So let's talk about what the average home is inside of Seattle that is actually sold for the month of May for the last 5 years. So in the last 5 years, when I added everything up, I came out with a aggregate number of a home, and it is 1713 square feet, 3 beds, and 2 bath. Now, I want you to forget about condition. I want you to, forget about, if it's a condo, single family, if it's a co-op, or if it's like some sort of manufactured home, or, if it's like a high-end, Cape Cod, or is it, a traditional house. Just think a generic house that's roughly 1,700 square feet that has 3 beds and 2 baths, because that is the generic house that we're talking about today. Because like I said, there is over 7,000 lines in this document, and I want to give you an average of what everything boils down to. So on average, like I said, a 1,713 square foot home inside of Seattle, Washington. If you came up to me right now and you want to purchase it, and it closed literally last month, what it would close at is, let me see here. It would close at exactly 1,037,000 dollars. So let's compare this to where it's been in the last 5 years. So if you take that home, that 1713 square foot home, that's 3 beds and 2 bath, and you bought it 5 years ago at the beginning of COVID in May of 2020, it would have cost you $907,000. Now, our homes during that time, the sales cycle was a little bit messed up because obviously we had stay-at-home orders, and all the real estate agents at the time, I wasn't one, but my mom was, they were doing virtual tours, and sometimes they were even doing just FaceTime tours for the people. Now, they closed 768 homes during that time inside of May for Seattle as a whole. And the average home, like I said, was $907,000 closed. Now, if you held on to it just for 1 year, it would have gone up about $50,000. So it would be $955,000 inside of just 1 year, and that's an appreciation of 5%. Now, the big thing that happened is, and this is something that people keep on forgetting about, but the interest rates have been changing quite a bit over the last couple of years. I don't talk about the interest rates as much because I want to make it very specific to you. Because interest rates, they depend, but the average inside of Washington, according to Investopedia, is 7.09 as of today. But they're very specific to you. It also depends on your financial condition, what your FICO score is and what your down payment is. All the numbers I'm using right now, I'm using roughly $100,000 down payment. But what it comes out to, if you held that home for 1 year from May 2020 to May 2021, you would have increased your net value by about $50,000, and that's about 5%. The big change happened the year after, and this is the reason why I was talking about the interest rates. Interest rates kind of just dived in the middle of COVID. We're not going to be political, but a lot of the administration and everything that they did during that time was to keep the economy moving. So they poured cheap money in, and our sold home prices actually increased by 19% the next year. In May of 2022, it went up, like I said, 19%, and it went up $130,000. So that $907,000 home that you bought at the beginning of COVID 2 years later was now worth $1,083,000. Now, the big change happened inside of May, actually did happen right about May of 2022. So our interest rates changed because the Fed had the 9.1% inflation rate that hit the headlines, and then we just started the increase of the interest rates from then on. So I'm not an economist, but I want to give you an idea of where things were and how things kind of like evened out during that time. So 1 year later, the pullback in May of 2023, what it came out to was you would have lost about $80,000 of appreciation off your home, but you'd still be a little bit ahead from the beginning of COVID, and your home would be roughly worth $1,002,000. That is a 7.5% decrease. Now, if you held on to that house still and you're sitting on it today, what it would be worth is $1,037,000. Now, that's about a $35,000 increase in the last year. We've been seeing a little bit of a bounce back, but not very much, because, like I was talking about earlier, the interest rates are just not conducive to our high home costs inside this area. Because, like we've been talking about, the homes have appreciated quite a bit over the last couple of years by at least 10 to 20, even 30%. And on top of that, the interest rate, the cost of money, has gone up. So when I specifically go over this stuff, I also want to compare how much it costs to rent versus how much it costs to carry, which is also known as your mortgage. So if your mortgage today, if you bought this house today, just yesterday or whatever, and it closed today, this $1,037,000 house, if you bought it with $100,000 down, with today's interest rates at 7.06, what your mortgage would be is $6,311. And what that is only your interest and your payment. This does not include any of your taxes, your insurance, special assessments, or even the big one, HOAs. So you're going to be tacking another $500 at least on top of that, maybe even $800 or $1,000 on top of your mortgage payment. And that's going to actually change every single year, because we haven't even talked about the insurance issues that we're running into right now. But if you were to rent instead that same size house, that 17, 13 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath, it would cost you about $2,000 less. It would be about $4,500. Now, if you're renting a single family house or something this size, you're going to be spending this kind of range. But a lot of people out there, they're like me, they're just renting a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment kind of thing. So I want to give you an idea of like how it compares to rent right now than it compares to purchase, because purchase, like I said, is literally 140% more than it is to rent. So the reason why I kind of cover this kind of thing is because I want to give you a general idea of what's going on inside the Seattle market, because it's very specific to you. If you're a seller, you're going to be running into an issue here. The days on market are increasing, and over half of the homes are taking some sort of price cut. If you're a buyer, on the other side, you're running into an issue of the cost of money is too high, and yes, the inventory is growing a little bit, but it's not growing fast enough. If you're someone that's sitting there and you're holding and you have a 3 or a 4% mortgage, right now you're kind of sitting pretty, but you're trying to figure out if you need to cash out all your chips. So this is the reason why I cover this again, is because I'm a real estate agent inside of Seattle, Washington. I'm available for hire. You can reach me right here. And as always, it was lovely working with you today, and I hope you have a fantastic day.